Well, hello everybody, Karl Anthony here, Wednesday Night Live. Looking forward to the show tonight. Just going to see can I add Derek while we're waiting on some people to join us. There we go, just invite him there. Share broadcast. So yeah, tonight's show we've a lot of stuff to cover. So we've had a few questions in there last week, and also how you doing, Derek? So but also we have a few answers to your questions from last week. So I'm just going to add. How you doing, Ben? How are you? How you doing, Sam? Always good to see you. Hello, Derek. How you doing, Kay? Hi, Kay. How are you doing? I'm doing good. MJ, how you keeping? Great to see these people coming back. It's going great. Fantastic. Enjoying the sun. Stephen, how are you? Let's wait for a few people to come on here. Stuart, good to see you. Katrina, how are you? Always good to see. It's great to see these names coming up each and every week. Fantastic stuff. So Derek, yeah, looking forward to the show tonight. We've got our work cut out. we've a couple of questions to answer, which is fantastic. Hey Katrina, hope you're keeping well. How you doing, Pamela? Hope things are going good with you. So Derek, yeah, basically we're just going to answer a few questions, but tonight it's really important that we do say that again we discuss hypnosis and only hypnosis. Very, very important to understand that. Like I'm not a medical doctor, I'm not a psychotherapist, I'm not nothing like that. I am a professional hypnotherapist, just like Derek. So everything we say in this video is purely about, hey there, Alan, purely about hypnosis, hypnotherapy approaches, and the therapeutic way that we would approach clients in certain issues. So again, just make sure you understand that, okay? So Derek, how are you keeping?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fantastic. Enjoying the sun today.
Really good weather.
Yeah, I was actually. Yeah, I got an hour or two there, and I just cut the grass, so it was lovely. Blue sky,
same as that.
Sun.
Same as that.
So, Derek, going to start off. Just a couple of questions here from last week. So, a question here from Sean, Sean Doyle, and the question is simple: can you help people get motivated to do more stuff?
To do more stuff.
Yeah. So I know, like you probably need a bit more information on that one, but in general, like if somebody has gone through a lot of stress or maybe traumatic events in the last few years, and maybe they've lost that's what I'm reading here, maybe they've lost their motivation. What do you suggest, Eric? How would hypnosis or hypnotherapy help somebody with that?
Well, there's a couple of things, obviously, Karl. First of all, as you rightly say, if somebody's going through stress over the last while or in the last while, is it causing the lack of motivation? If that is the case, then obviously that has to be looked at. Again, it's difficult enough to answer the question without a bit more detail, but there's two ways I'd look at it. One is lack of motivation to do stuff. Is it causing feelings of being low and down? That lack of motivation. It depends on, we'll say, what has happened to trigger it. Like traumatic events. Is there loss there? Is there, I don't know, situations where, I don't know, things didn't work out, or situations where we'll say, he felt he wasn't good enough. Maybe that sort of type of situation. That could be coming from base programming. If that is the case, then we'd want to be looking to see if we could find out the base programming associated with it, the cause of it, and reframe the subconscious perception of it, because lack of motivation, look at it, it's either fear of a negative outcome or it's down to, we'll say, feelings of being low and down. We've dealt with both in the past, the anxiety or we'll say the feelings of being low and down. The other way, though, I would deal with that also, and again, I consider it to be very important, is that, it's okay removing the negativity, but that lack of motivation, we want to be instilling the positivity, because what did you say his first name again was, Karen? Or did you?
Sean Doyle.
Sean Doyle, yeah. Well, Sean's as good as anybody who ever existed, exists, or ever will exist. And he has the same right to manufacture a positive destiny as everybody has. So, to remind the subconscious of his ability to achieve goals, again, to me, would be very important. But I would be asking what's triggered it, Karl, to be honest with you, primarily. What has triggered it? And working from there.
Yeah, and also, I suppose, just to add to that, Derek, I'd be asking Sean as well, has he experienced this in other times in his life? Has he felt this way before? And he could be saying, well, 20 years ago something happened and I lost my motivation for a year or two or whatever. But we both know here, Derek, that, you know, I'm just assuming he went through, you know, traumatic events, you know, but, you know, what stops somebody from being motivated to get up and want to do things, to out and, you know, react with people and interact with people? What stops them from doing that to where they just don't want to go outside the door? I mean, that's really what we're looking at here, you know. So there has to be some sort of a trigger. There has to be some sort of stress that has basically devalued the person. That's the way I'd see it, you know, emotionally. So again, you know, we all know when we're happy and life is great and we're jolly, we feel fantastic inside. We feel really great inside. But we also know too that when something stressful happens or something that we haven't planned, and it might even seem unfair or unjustified, it's very, very quick to pull all that emotional value away and all that motivation away. So without speaking to Sean in detail, I would be asking him, you know, has he experienced this feeling in other parts of his life, especially when he's younger as well? You know. Yeah. So Sean, if you're watching, I hope that answers your question. And if not, certainly come back to us and give us a message, and we'll give you a call and talk to you and see can we help you out with that, because it's a terrible thing, isn't it, to, you know, to have life, the gift of life, the miracle of life, and just not want to be motivated in it, not to engage in it, you know. So fantastic. I have another question here from Vinny Connolly. I know Vinny. How you doing, Vinny? But basically, it's a very good. It's more a statement than a question, you know. But it's very, very interesting when you look at it. Lots of female friends now I hear of with racing thoughts, especially when getting into bed at the end of the day. So, you know, obviously, the ladies in question, whoever Vinny is talking about, he's talking to them. So they're saying, you know, get into bed at the end of the day, lie down in bed. Next of all, the head is just racing and racing and racing. Yeah, yeah. What would you suggest there?
Well, again, Karl, you know, when you go into your bed, you're feeling, we'll say, tired, or it's time to go to sleep. You're feeling tired or not, and the mind all of a sudden is starting to race. Again, it's begging the question, why? This type of scenario is something, you know what I mean, in my early career that I found difficult to get a handle on, and yet, you know, Karl, as was pointed out to me ultimately, you know, the reason is pretty simple. You know, like when one is asleep, you know, one is, you know, totally out of control. So if there's stresses going on in one's life, we'll say, and a lot going on in one's life, or perceived threats in some shape or form, and perceived being the important word there. If the subconscious mind doesn't like the idea of you relaxing and drifting off to sleep easily and effortlessly, it will manifest itself to keep you awake, and it will cause the racing mind. It will cause, you know, the overthinking, we'll say, at night in that situation. But generally speaking, it is down to, well, I say generally speaking, in the majority of cases, I would say that it's down to, you know, a perceived lack of control in some situation or type of situation. Yeah. I would imagine.
It's like, for me, it reminds me of, you know, when you're younger, you know, when you're like, you know, 8, 9, 10, 12 years of age and you're in trouble, you've done something wrong, there's got to be a bit of a consequence for it. And, you know, you're lying in bed and you're just terrified. You're thinking all the bad things are going to happen, you know, and that's, you know, it's not too far away from that, you know, because you have to ask yourself again, what could be happening in their life? Now, it could be actually a real threat, or it could be an imagined threat, as you said, Eric, you know. Like we know people with insomnia, for instance, you know, God love them, you know, out of all the things we deal with, it must be one of the cruelest things, because to not sleep, you know, or maybe get 2-3 hours, you know, a night, each and every night. And some people are lucky to get 2-3 hours a night, but to actually have to deal with that and then to function, you know, you could be a mother, you could, you know, have a job, going in and, you know, coming home, doing all the work and dinners and all that, and then going to bed and not being able to sleep, or waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning and can't go back to sleep. And we both know that can be down to a few different issues where the mind is really, you know, it's not sleeping because it's not comfortable. It's not set that everything is okay. I'm in control of everything, you know. Or there could be a fear of, I'm going to mess up, something bad's going to happen. And it's like going back to when you're younger and you think something bad's going to happen, or you're in trouble the next day with somebody or the teachers, you know, whatever. You know, it's very difficult to rest the conscious mind, you know. So again, without speaking to the lady, or sorry, Vinny, even, sorry. Without speaking to Vinny, just to find out a bit more details, you know, the other way to look at that too is that distraction is a great thing. And I think in this day and age, we're more distracted now than ever before. I certainly remember growing up, there was a clock on the wall, a phone on the wall. There was a TV with 4 stations, and that was it. And you know, the TV probably wouldn't go until 6 or 7 o'clock in the evening. So you know, you were constantly out playing, blah blah blah, and all that. But time seemed to take forever. It just seemed to take for ages to get from one day to the next and so on. But now we're sort of just losing time constantly. We just can't keep track of it. Like, I can't believe it's Wednesday again already, you know, and it's going to be next Wednesday like that again. So we're so distracted now with everything, social media, you know, everything. Everybody wants us all of a sudden. We have emails, they want to find out this, we're getting posts. We're just constantly being distracted by this environment we're now living in. And I find that, you know, especially, you know, again, it could be social media as a distraction as well on Facebook. 8-9 hours, you know, a day or whatever, you know, maybe 3-4 hours before you go to bed. And again, depending on what you're looking at, what content you're looking at, that can have an effect on the subconscious mind, you know, and the conscious mind actually communicating together, saying, conscious mind, go sleep, it's okay, I'm in control here, you know. So that'd be my, you know, little bit on that, Eric, you know.
Just one other thing though, I would say, just because we're not talking to anybody in particular, but like, you know, just a wee tip. Now, I'm not saying this is going to sort out the problem, but a wee technique that I find works very well is the wee notebook. You know, if somebody does, you know, if it's not happening all the time for somebody, and we'll say it's just now and again or whatever, sometimes a very good technique is to have the wee notebook beside the bed. And if there is something going on in the mind and it is causing it to race, just write it down in the notebook, because at least when it's in the notebook, it's safe. You can put it in the bedside locker, and if you want to take it in the morning, you take it in the morning. If you don't, you don't. It's just a wee.
Again, it's difficult without speaking to the girls that Billy's talking about there, you know. But you know, if there's anxiety related to it, you know, the notebook is fine. But depending on the strength of the anxiety, you know.
Oh, you know, I'm not saying it's going to sort out the problem.
You can write it on the bedroom wall, and it won't make a difference, you know. Because if the subconscious mind believes it's out of control, something bad's going to happen. It must take priority over everything else. It must. You know,
must do its
job. Yeah, that's why you're still alive today, you know. I have a request here from a lady, Katrina Roach, hey, Kevin. And she's just saying, 1 week, can you talk about emotional connection to weight loss and how hypnosis can help? People are not aware there can be such a strong connection between the two. Please, so we'll just cover that briefly, but we will go into that. I think we'll dedicate a show to weight loss and emotional eating, you know, in a couple of weeks. But again, we'll just have to discuss that between us, Eric, if you like. Your experience working with ladies, mainly, you know, I suppose 80% of our clientele for weight loss are ladies, you know. We are seeing more and more men, which is great. But, you know, again, it's very, very common for us as hypnotherapists to see completely different people, completely original people, you know. You couldn't say they're the same people, but they have the similar issues, the similar patterns when it comes to food. So, Derek, if you want to kick that off, I'll add into the end of that there. So, basically the emotional connection between, you know, weight loss and so on.
Yeah. Well, to be honest with you, for me anyway, Karl, in my experience, it's actually very, very common. People do develop the bad habits and the associations with eating the wrong food, we'll say, at the wrong times, etc. But, you know, a lot of times it's very easy to make that emotional connection with food, that comfort connection with food. And again, for long-term change to become probable, I find, you know, it does need to be looked at. It does need to be dealt with. Like, what's the first? I suppose one of the first comforts we get, even when we're born, do you know what I mean, is nourishment from our mum. You know, so you can go back that far if you want and find, you know, a connection between comfort and food. But regardless of that, even moving forward, you know, I'll give you an example. I had a lady in with me even this week, and when she was 3 years of age, she was on a swing. She fell off the swing and got up, and then the swing hit her in the back of the head. And Dad brought her into the house, give her a hug, a cuddle, and give her a packet of sweets, you know, to make her feel better. Yeah. Now, she was about 3 years of age. I'm not mentioning any names, but, you know, she wasn't a young lady either, to be honest with you, but she still had this memory was very, very strong within her. Because she told me at a conscious level, it didn't involve regression, I find it. She could remember it at a conscious level. So, you know, even that in itself, you know what I mean, it'll make me feel better. Times of, we'll say, for example, the swing there, for example, falling off the swing, there could have been that, you know, sense of, we'll say, being out of control even. So in the future, if she felt out of control, you know, the subconscious very easily could have kicked in and says, I know it'll make you feel better. You know what I mean? Something sweet will make you feel better. But then you also, Karl, and you can talk about it now yourself too in a second, is that we talk about the emotional emptiness, and people trying to fill an emotional emptiness with food, as we both know. You can't. It's not hunger. It's an emotional emptiness. You can't fill it with food, but the subconscious can associate food with attempting to fill it. And that's why, for example, somebody's eating when they're not hungry. Why would one eat when one's not hungry? It must be in an attempt to fill some form of emptiness.
Absolutely. And it makes sense, and again, I suppose for a lot of ladies out there watching, especially that, I know, again, from speaking to ladies on a daily basis, it's, depending on the weight they have to lose, they lost 3 stone, 4 years ago, put it back on, they lost 5 stone 6 years ago, put it back on. And it always seems to be, it always seems to be the pain, you lose the weight, you do great, put a lot of effort into it, write down and give it a bit of time, a little bit of stress comes into your life, and the will and the power weakens, and boom, you just go back. And for a lot of ladies out there, I'm sure they'd even like to comment on it. You just go back and do what you were doing in the first place, But for many different reasons. And again, it's really interesting what you're saying, Derek, about that emotional emptiness. That feeling of emptiness, or incompletion, if you like. And again, that comes back to that emotional value. We keep talking about, the currency of emotional value. And my thinking on that, as you know well, Derek, is that everybody in some way has what you call they're poor when it comes to emotional currency. They're poor when it comes to emotional value. Some more than others. But I think as a society, and especially in the environment that we live, the way it's designed, it's very I don't know, we're getting further and further away than our natural ability to communicate and connect and recognize and attach to each other. We're getting so far away from that now. I mean, even the likes of data coming in, data protection, it's making us further, it's taking us further and further and further away. Trust is becoming a big thing out there, which is fine, and I know it has its place. I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying, it just seems everything seems to be pulling us away a little bit. I was watching a little video there about 10% or 90% of the time of most people are spent indoors now. 90% of the time of their living life is spent indoors. But again, just going back to this emotional value. So for weight loss, Katrina, and emotional eating, again, we'd have to speak to the client. We'd have to sit down and do a consultation straight away, as we do with every client. We'd have to find out, certain bits of history. So when did the weight start? Did anything significant happen around that time in your life, a year or two before that, when you start to put the weight on? Because you'll always find the answers when you look in the right place. And also, many times you have tried to lose weight, and many times, it's come back on, and so on. But then you could look into, that's just foods, but what about alcohol? What about drugs? What about, Facebook, social media addiction? What about, and again, it's never, like, alcohol isn't a problem, but it is if you're using it as an addictive resource to try to resolve the issues of the emotions. Food, there's nothing wrong with chips, but if you eat them 5-6 times a week and you don't stop when you're satisfied, you just keep eating because you feel empty, well, then the food becomes an issue, So again, but Katrina, I hope that answers your question. As professional hypnotherapists, yes, we would sit the client down, we'd get all the information, the fact-finding information, everything we need to know. And that really gives us the route that we need to take with the client to find out the cause of the weight. Again, we always focus on the cause of issues, the cause of the panic attacks, the cause of the depression, the cause of the weight, the cause of the lack of confidence, and so on. So, but again, I hope that answers your question. I have another one here. It's actually weight loss related as well, Derek. So I'll just read this one out to you too. So, hello guys, hypnotherapy worked for me. Giving up the cigarettes. I've never wanted one since, but it did not work as far as dieting.
Okay. Well, to me, Karl, to be honest with you, that could very well possibly go straight back to what we just discussed, and the emotional side of food. In that smoking is the habits and the association. She was committed to stopping smoking. Obviously, delighted it was successful for her. But if she didn't deal with any comfort or emotional issues that were going on as regards to food, it's okay breaking the habits and the associations, but if those emotional issues arise, she would still be programmed to revert back to food as a source of comfort. Now, again, without a chat, I don't know what the story is with the lady in question, but that's, you know, if the smoking was successful, she was committed to stopping smoking, she was committed to losing weight, but it wasn't successful, then that's more than likely, in my eyes, what would have happened, I would say.
Yeah. Again, I'd agree again, and a couple of things I'd add to that is just commitment. You know, look, either you smoke or you don't. You know, it's just black and white. Either you do or you don't. But food you have to eat anyway. You know, but you know, so I feel sometimes, you know, especially when we see people for weight loss, you know, the one thing we push them for is commitment. You know, because without commitment, we both fail. You know, if you get somebody in who's 60% wants to lose weight and they're committed to it, well, then you have a 60% chance of helping them. And that's not something, that's not the world I like working in, you know. So again, we always like maybe screen people, we push them back a little bit and say, listen, you know, we'll see if you're serious about this journey, because, you know, it's our, you know, it's the reputation of what we do as well. And but once a person comes in committed, you know, the results are incredible, they really are, because again, dealing with the cause of the weight, and again, without knowing how much weight a lady needs to lose, it could be a stone, it could be 5 stone, without knowing that, it's a little hard to answer, but I hope that gives you some sort of information. So we're going to get on to another one here. Now, this was sent to me after the show last week, and I just want to say, if there's any little ears listening out there, it might be an idea that they weren't listening to this next bit. It's quite tough, I'll be honest with you. My heart goes out to the lady. I'm not going to mention her name, she's asked me not to, and there's no way I would anyway. But, you know, this is stuff we deal with in the clinics all the time, and I know for a lot of you, when we go through this, it might be a little tough to take, but, you know, I want to do it because the lady, when you hear what this says here, you'll see that she's no one to talk to. She's, you know, she's all alone. She's lost. She's hopeless, and you know, I'm going to extend my arm to try to see can we help this lady, and we'll help her out no matter what way we can. I think Irish Hypnosis can well afford to do that. So if you are watching, and if you are, I won't say you are, but if you are watching, look, we'll get this sorted for you. This is a token and a gesture of desire to help and to heal, because it is quite tough. But when I read this out to Derek, he'll understand it completely. I understand it completely, and I know the exact route that we would need to take. And the first thing would be a consultation, obviously. So again, trigger warning. Any young people listening out there, probably not appropriate. Anybody out there that could be very sensitive or emotional, you know, maybe, you know, just, you know, we're just giving you that warning, okay? And again, no matter what I say after I read this out, I'm talking as a hypnotherapist. I'm not talking as a doctor, I'm not talking as a psychotherapist, a counsellor, I'm talking as a hypnotherapist. That's it, okay? As we said at the start, and so is Derek, by the way. So anyway, let me read this out, and I'll do my best to make it as clear as I can. So, hi Karl, I am just writing to see if maybe you can talk about it next week or whenever. I was raped and sexually abused by my brother when I was around 8 years of age to around 12. He passed away when I was in my teenage years, and again, I have the age here, but I'm just not going to say it because in case anybody knows the person. But the brother passed away in the teenage years, and I've never told anyone, not even one person. I've been with my partner X amount of years, and he doesn't know. But I'm struggling daily, Karl. I take it back to about 2 years ago when I crashed my car and was off the road in the middle of nowhere, and my life is now in the middle of nowhere. My social link is gone. Family don't visit. I don't have many friends. A few, maybe 2 or 3, or sorry, 3 or 4. Basically, my question, can I ever get past this without having to reveal what he did? I feel people won't believe me because he's now passed, and what proof do I really have? I don't know if it's something you'd be able to help me with, but even when you said my name in the video, my heart raced. It's been kept on lockdown for so long, I don't think I can tell everyone. It's been like 17 years. Please help me. Thank you. And again, much respect to that lady for messengers. What a brave girl. And again, trust me, she'll stay completely anonymous, and because that's a brave thing to do. But it just shows you that she's suffering. This is basically her cry out to see can anyone help. And again, if you are watching, contact me after the show. I am going to get you in, and we're going to look after you. Irish Hypnosis will sponsor you that, because nobody, that shouldn't have happened. Anyway, Derek, your thoughts, sir.
Okay, Karl, first things first, just as you've said there, as I'm commenting here, please people don't be sending 20 messages giving out to me about what I'm saying and what I'm not saying. I'm commenting, based on, we'll say, my experience and how I feel we could possibly help this lady. There's a lot in here, Karl, as you rightly said. Yeah. Unfortunately, there's nothing in here I don't hear. Dare I say it, often enough. Maybe not all in the same, but through various situations. Okay, first and foremost, yeah, I think there's no reason we shouldn't be able to help this lady.
No.
At any time as I'm commenting, I'm not belittling what happened to this lady, by the way, and I'm not belittling her situation currently, or in the past in any shape or form. Okay, she was raped by her brother between the ages of 8 and 12. Never told anybody. He's dead. Current partner doesn't know. She crashed a car. She ended up off the road in the middle of nowhere, and she feels like her life is there now. She's no friends, no family, or she perceives she's no friends, no family. They're not visiting, and she's feeling lost. Okay. First and foremost, the car crash. Sorry, go on. What were you going to say?
Sorry, yeah, obviously, just for the listeners, I know you know, but sorry, there's panic and there's anxiety and there's everything in this. So just in case, it didn't come out when I read it, but the lady is, she's basically riddled with panic and anxiety and depression, I would say. Anyway, sorry, Derek, far away.
Okay, all right. Well, obviously, Karl, again, it's all going on here. We have, as you say, the panic, the anxiety. We have the depression. The feelings have been low and down. The car crash apparently has triggered it. So 2 years ago, she was in the car crash. That's total lack of control, I would imagine. If you go back through, you would note, Karl, that, the situation between the ages of 8 and 12, I'm sure she felt totally out of control. She must have felt that she couldn't do anything about it, couldn't say anything to anybody, because, as I say, she hasn't. Nobody would have believed her. She still perceives nobody would believe her. So the first thing, I won't say the first thing, but definitely one of the things that has to be looked at there, Karl, is that the anxiety and the panic attacks triggered by the car crash, that lack of control. As I'm sure you will agree, Karl, the only thing I would say is that you may need to look at that in a bit of depth, in the sense that there may be something prior the abuse, which is actually the initial cause of her fear of not being in control, we'll say, the anxiety, the panic.
Just sorry, Derek, I do have a bit more to read out when you're finished, but spot on, yeah, that's exactly just I do have, because I replied to the lady and she replied back to me.
All right.
I'll read that out in a second when you're finished. Okay, yeah.
Well, do you want to read it out now, and then maybe we'll chat about it?
Yeah, okay, yeah.
More information in it.
So sorry, people, yeah. I read out the first page, as you all know. So I replied to the lady in question, and I said, where are we? I said, well, God love you. I said, well, that's a hard place to be. Yes, I believe it can be dealt with without having to relive or discuss the details of it in detail. As you say, it was triggered 2 years ago in a car crash, which would have been a situation where the subconscious mind lost control, and possibly matches when you were 8, and your control was taken away from you. I believe I could help you. Okay, so the lady then replied to that, and I'm just going to change some of the years and that slightly, because again, just in case anybody would be familiar with these details. To be honest, Karl, I didn't know it was wrong until maybe 19 or 20. So I think she's talking about the abuse. She didn't know it was wrong until she's about 19 or 20. She said she blocked it out, but she had a breakdown a couple of years ago. I'm just going to change that slightly again. But a couple of years ago, the lady grew up in Kerr, and she moved in with an aunt before the age of 7. until she's around 17 or 18. Okay? Her mum passed away, God love the lady, when she was around 8 or 9. And her dad was never in the picture. She said that we mentioned, the terrible thing of suicide in the video and how people, get to that place. But sometimes I feel there's no way out and so alone. And I know I need to speak out in order to move on, but I just don't think I can. I don't even know why I'm telling you this, but I've been watching you a few weeks now, and you help me every day. I fear for my daughter's safety with me as my depression and anxiety takes over, and I feel she isn't having the life she deserves.
Okay, now we've it all gone on.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, Karl, that would more or less confirm anyway, definitely the anxiety and the panic attacks needing to be dealt with. I would, okay, that goes without saying then. But again, it's nothing that can't be dealt with, and this is important.
No.
It's nothing that can't be dealt with. There's a few other situations that popped in there. She moved in with her aunt when she was about 7. Mum passed away at 9. Again, I would just question, like, what I mean, did Mum move in with her at 7, or obviously we don't know that. No?
She grew up. The lady grew up in care.
In
so
care, right?
Okay.
So there's a reason there's also a reason she's in care.
Well, she grew up in care. I don't know what age on it, but she moved in with the aunt when she was about between 5 and 7. Okay, and till around the age of 17. Mum passed away when I was 9, and Dad was never in the picture.
Yeah.
So obviously her first years were possibly in care.
Yeah, and in stress.
Yeah.
More than likely in stress. For her to be in care, more than likely, the first years were in a state of stress. We're looking at, again, the only thing I will say, and again, I'm not belittling the lady's situation, but she has survived, okay, which is important because she's messaged you. She is in a relationship and she has a child herself. We are looking also there, obviously, Karl, I'm sure the feelings have been low and down are quite strong there as well, and they're probably included within the anxiety. I would definitely say we're looking further back, Karl, for the anxiety than the situation commencing at 8. You're looking at anger, release and forgiveness there also. Okay, let's say for Mum, Dad, and I don't want 100 messages over this, but possibly yourself as well. Okay. She's fearing, there's definitely guilt there, I would imagine, there, even as regards her own feelings, because as she says, her daughter, she's fearing for her daughter, that she doesn't want her daughter. She wants her daughter to have the life she deserves.
Yeah.
So you talk about, again, her emotional value is literally on the floor as we're speaking, I would imagine. The only other thing I'd like to say, Karl, is, there's nothing there that can't be dealt with. You know what I mean with that. And again, increasing her self-worth. Definitely, yes. Unless I'm missing something, Karl, that should take care of an awful lot of what's going on with her, I would imagine.
Yeah, well, that'd be my thoughts. And again, if the lady's watching, I'm going to keep saying this. Contact me again after the show. We'll arrange some sessions on behalf of Irish Hypnosis for you. And that's if it's for you, okay? Maybe have a think about it. But first thing we're to do is set up a consultation with that lady. We'll just get more details around that. But my thinking on it would be same as yourself, Eric. And just for the people out there, we're sort of talking in what we do, it just makes sense to us. But anybody out there, look at it this way. We know that the first 5, 6, 7 years in life is the most damaging time of all. Okay, it's called the blueprint, the imprint. It's basically will determine who you are to a greater extent when you're older. So up to the age of 7, we're very impressionable. We're very suggestible. You know, we believe in tooth fairies. We believe that if we bang our finger in the door and mommy kisses it better, the pain goes away, and it does. Okay, so placebo comes in there. We also believe in Santa. We believe in anything. But without speaking to the lady in detail, I don't know what age she went into care, but if you can imagine, for whatever reason, mum wasn't capable of looking after you at that time. Obviously because maybe mum had her own issues from her childhood and so on. Again, we're only assuming here, by the way. And again, we're only talking hypnotherapy, by the way. But, you know, if you just imagine being 2 or 3 years of age and taken away from the mother in the first place, that to me is a massive event straight away, you know, because you're breaking a bond and an attachment to your protector, your mum. You know, she's the one who gave birth, she gave life to you, she's feeding you, she's possibly doing her best to mind you, and possibly if she wasn't capable of doing, you know, the job that she should have been doing, that's possibly why, you know, the social services came involved. I don't know, I'm only assuming. But to be taken away from the mother at a young age and put into care, which again can be quite stressful. I've never, thank God, had that experience, but I can imagine it must be a very stressful situation. We're in there with a lot of authority figures, you know, a lot of people, a lot of other kids, a lot of heartbreak. I'd imagine a lot of scream, a lot of panic, a lot of anxiety in that situation, you know. And you know, around the age of 5 to come out, or 6 to come out and then live with the auntie. And again, you'd have to ask, what type of lady was the auntie, you know? You know, and no disrespect to the auntie, I'm just saying, was she a nice caring lady, or was she somebody challenged herself in her emotional ability, as in damage from her childhood? Was she angry? Was she, you know, whatever? Was she, you know, what sort of a relationship was it? You know, again, because there's a lot going on here with this emotional emptiness we're talking about. There's a lot of here with rejection going on here. You know, God love the lady. So, but she lived with the aunt until around the age of 17. So you'd have to question, you know, what sort of 12 years was that? You know, was it a great time? Was it a bad time? And again, only in the consultation when we get the information we need. But to lose mum, you know, you're now losing mum at 9. You're now losing your mum for the second time. You know, you possibly lost her when you went into care, and now you lose her for good when you're 9 years of age. Again, that's like I have a son 9 years of age, and I'm just thinking, ow, it's just, how do you know, even that alone can be massive, you know. But then to have to experience, you know, the inappropriate, you know, behavior with her brother that went on for 4 years, again, you know, again, on a subconscious level, that's, you know, I know the lady said she wasn't aware that it was wrong till she was 17. And, but still, I think the subconscious would, you know, there'd have to be some sort of uncomfortable feeling or some sort of knowingness. But then again, if the lady went through all of that sort of previous damage from care, possibly with her auntie, losing her mum, you know, she mightn't have been in an emotional state to recognize that, you know, there's something wrong with this. I mean, you know, she's been through so much in these young years, you know. But then to realize that losing the brother at 17, so now she lost a mum at 9, you know, she lost a mum when she was younger, she lost a mum at 9, now she's losing a brother, even though, you know, it was inappropriate, the early experience with it. But people keep leaving. And that's what I'm saying here, there's a pattern of people leaving and leaving and leaving. And, you know, again, even though it would have been inappropriate stuff going on with the brother, it's still lost there, you know. But then to realize at around the age 18 or 19 that what he had done was wrong, that would have been a massive trigger, huge trigger of a few different things: unfairness and justice, loss of control, maybe feeling trapped. Because I do know the lady in question saying that she's finding it very difficult to leave the house. You know, so she's suffering with agoraphobia. So that's, you know, you're fearing everything outside the door. You know, so in its own right, it's making you trapped, but you're avoiding being trapped at the same time. You know, so yeah, there's a lot going on there. I'm sure there's a lot of hurt. I'm sure there's a lot of loss. I'm sure there's a lot of anger. There's a lot of unfairness, a lot of injustice going on here. So to the lady, if you are watching, please contact me after the show. As I say, Irish Hypnosis is going to look after you if you want it. We're going to get you in, and we'll do it just because, well, if you come in and work with us, that is, and I'm sure we can get you to a fantastic place. And again, this is something I would deal with a lot, and Derek would deal with a lot, and all the hypnotherapists in Irish Hypnosis would deal with a lot. I know for a lot of people hearing this stuff for the first time, it can be quite shocking. But it's quite common. So to the lady out there, you're not the only one either. There's a lot of people that we deal with that have gone through this. And the other thing I'd like to say to the lady, if she is listening, that none of this is your fault. You know, it's not your fault. You know, you'd have to argue the day you were born, if you're swapped with a different baby and a different baby went home instead of you, would that other baby have lived your life? Would they have gone through what you went through? Would they have gone to care? Would they have gone to your auntie? Would they have, you know, God knows what might have happened. And if you went to a different family that could care for you, that could look after you, that were there for you, support you, and show you emotional attachment and bonding, would you be, you probably wouldn't be watching these videos, to be honest, you know. So, but again, if you are watching, please contact us after the show. So again, is it possible? So in our world, yes, and we don't say it lightly. You don't just say, oh yeah, we can heal that and heal this. We do it based on results, you know. Anxiety is anxiety, no matter if you've lived that lady's life or you live my life or Derek's life or your own life and you suffer anxiety. Depression is depression, whether, you know, it comes from bullying or whether it comes from loss, you know, maybe feeling rejected in life or not good enough. It doesn't really matter how it happened because it's the same thing, you know. So, you know, I had a lady coming in at the moment and she took over a job there about a year ago, and she loved her job, totally loved her job, you know. And next of all, she took over a new job, but then felt overwhelmed. She couldn't cope because she's a perfectionist. So she was asking people to do stuff that she would perceive to be the right way to do it, and they didn't do it that way. So they weren't programmed to do it that way. So everything was unfair and unjustified. And she just felt that she was messing up, that she was failing. So she had to take time off with stress, you know. So as I said, it doesn't really matter how you end up with depression. Well, it sort of does, what I'm trying to say compared to this lady, it doesn't really matter how you end up with panic attacks. It doesn't really, you know, it doesn't matter really how you end up with anxiety or not feeling good enough. There's a trigger for it to happen, but it's the same experience for most people. The heart beats the same. The knot in the stomach is the same. The sweaty hands are the same. The anger, maybe, anger issues, or lack of anger, you know, as in repressed. And there's one last thing I'd like to say to that lady, if you're still watching, or if you are watching even, is that I think I've seen a comment go up there earlier on, I think it was from Katrina saying that she's made the first step. And the first step is to reach out and talk to somebody, and you know, and she's done that, so I applaud you for doing that. The one thing I would say to that lady out there is that, you know, as bad and all, everything you've been through, one of the most dangerous things I believe for you right now is repressing the emotion, is not dealing with it, not letting it out. Because it's horrific what you've gone through, but it's even more, it's probably more dangerous going forward for your own physical health and your mental health, that this emotion must be released. It has to go, it has to be dealt with in here. And, you know, hypnotherapy, you know, we could sit here and talk about research, we can sit and talk about it for days about it if you want statistics about it, but, you know, we just got to really listen to what we're saying here, is that hypnosis allows us to travel back in time, you know, and there's no other therapy does that. You know, talking therapies are commonly used for one-to-one talking in a conscious world like we're talking right now, just consciously, yapping back and forth. But that doesn't have the ability to go in and travel back in time. What we do and what hypnosis is, it's a state of mind that gives us access to all the long-term memory. So the first day she went into care would be in there. You know, why she was given away would be in there. Her experience with her auntie would be in there. Everything would be in there. But again, we don't need to go back through all the invasive details of what happened. We just need certain things and what we call main players, perpetrators, and all that sort of thing. But hypnosis gives us the ability to travel back to the time before the damage happened and to desensitize it in that moment. And that's no different than going back through going back through I don't know, hard drive of the computer, finding an application that's annoying you, it keeps popping up. You go back and you downloaded it 10 years ago, you go back onto your hard drive, you find where you installed it and you delete it. It's no different, and that's the way this works. So again, you know, please, if you are listening, please get in touch, even if it's just to talk, because to hold on to that emotion, God love you, you know, it's you've been challenged enough in life, but I think to hold on to that and not to be able to deal with, not to tell anybody, can possibly be a massive threat to you going forward in the future. Repressing emotion, you know. much better to release. And trust me, the way we work with it is very, very easy. It's very fast, and it's very successful.
Just before we finish in that, Karl, just one other thing. It's just popping into my head too. It's just, and again, I do hope the lady in question does make the call. But one other thing, just in relation to it, and especially in relation to what we're talking about, one other beautiful thing about hypnotherapy as a form of treatment is that, you know, you can do an awful lot sitting on a hypnotherapist's chair. You know, to the subconscious, imagination is reality in a relaxed state of hypnosis. So, you know, the work that you can do, as I say, from the chair, without having to go outside the door and do it, you know what I mean, is massive also. Just in case the lady in question has any fear that she, you know, she may have to, we'll say, open up about things or open up to somebody about something she doesn't want to. Do you understand? I'm not saying she won't. I'm only saying in case she has a fear that it will lead to it. If she won't have to do anything she doesn't want to do. No. But she can deal with an awful lot just sitting on the chair, because the subconscious will perceive it as real, as actually happening. That's the only other thing I would just mention in relation to it.
Good advice, yeah. That's good advice.
A lot of lovely messages coming in there. A lot of lovely messages of support for her. I'm delighted to see them.
I've seen that, yeah. And, you know, and truly, you know, I do wish you all there. Please just, even though you don't know who it is, just type in some messages to that lady, Oliver. The other thing we just asked you to do, we're going to finish off now in a sec. It's just, we just mind liking it and sharing it. Just gets people, you know, we just want to get people more involved in this. Also, more questions. We have some more for next week, but maybe after next week we're going to go back into single topics. So, if there's anything you know, we'll just get all your feedback, and anything in particular you'd like us to talk about. Please send it in to us. And I'm glad that lady did last week. It just shows you the people out there. There's a lot of people out there suffering in silence, and basically what we want to do is help raise awareness, and because there's not much about it out there, really, is there? I mean, you know, we're all sort of just left to struggle and figure ourselves out, you know. So if there's anything you'd like us to talk about, we won't mention your name if you don't want us to, you know. But if there's anything you'd like us to talk about and deal with the experience we have, and again, based on hypnotherapy only, we'll do that. But again, listen, I do appreciate everybody tuning in again. Fantastic. I can't believe it's nearly 20 past 10 already. But Derek, thanks once again.
Oh, you, Karl, thank you. Yeah. And everybody else.
And yeah, listen, we'll see you all next Wednesday. Many thanks.
Evening.